homer. Inciarte 4 for 12. As a team, the Braves are hitting .247 off of Corbin, and those were Brave stats. Off as we look at the Nationals, Trey Turner 7 for 15 off of Tehran, a .467 average. Kendrick's hitting .375 off of him, 6 for 16. So look for him in the lineup today. Rendon 12 for 40, 300 average. I've got several players hitting 1,000, Soto and Gomez, but only a few at bats, right? So it's a chance for the Nationals to make some hay against the Braves. And let's see how those games go this weekend. They're playing, again, a 4-game set. Philadelphia 7.5 out in the division. Looking at the Central, the Cubs are 52 and 44, 2 games ahead of the Brewers, 2.5 games ahead of the Cardinals. And the Pittsburgh Pirates and Reds are slowly dropping off. You know, a few days ago it was a 5.5 game lead. Now Pittsburgh 6.5 out, and the Reds, losers of 3 in a row, are now 8 games out of the division lead. So is it time to say Cincinnati's out of it? The Cubs last night beat the Reds 5-2. And as we look at that box score from last night, you know, the Cubs, they just, first of all, you've got some hitters that are really starting to hit for the Cubs that have been somewhat cool. And the Reds, you know, I don't know, just can't seem to get it together, can they? So we'll see how they do. The Cubs are going to be playing San Diego at home starting today. Arizona is at Milwaukee. And Pittsburgh is home with the Phillies. In the National League West, the Dodgers still continue to roll. At home today against Miami, a 14-game lead over Arizona, a 15-game lead over the Giants. The Dodgers, the best run differential in all of Major League Baseball at 151. Looking at the wild card standings this morning in the National League, you've got Washington leading the wild card by 1.5 games over Milwaukee. St. Louis, a half a game, and Philadelphia, a half a game out of the second wild card. Arizona, 1.5 games out. San Francisco, 2.5 out. Colorado, San Diego, 4 games out of the second wild card. But I want to focus again on the Giants. Winners of 9 of 10, winners of 6 in a row. Only 2.5 out of that last wild card spot. And the Giants are playing the Mets at home all weekend. So that's just a quick look at the National League and how things are standing. We take a look at the American League. And I guess my first question here is, and I want to check on Chappie, are you still in the chat room? Kids, I don't know if you ever got sound. It's hard for me to read all the chat room chat and also check on people. I don't know why. Maybe you can reset. I don't know. Let's look at some of the chat rooms. Zelmo, good morning. Malpal says, agrees with me. Reds are toast. Easy Kill says, don't kill my hope. So Malpal comes back and says, go Reds. All right. And Easy Kill's happy again. That's what I like to hear. Chappie, are you in the chat? You said you're here. I hope you are. You just texted me. So I hope that you're with me in the chat room, pulling for you, buddy. We're getting ready to talk American League. How about the Yankees? How about the Yankees? The Yankees win a doubleheader last night against Tampa. And so the question is this morning, is the American League East over? The Yankees lead the Tampa Bay Rays by 8 games, 10 in the loss column. And when you get to 70, you got 60 games left approximately. I look at the losses. You can't make those up. The Yankees with a 10-game lead over the Rays in the loss column, 11-game lead over the Red Sox in the loss column. They've won 3 in a row. The run differential, now this morning, the Yankees have the best run differential in the American League. This is the first week that's been the case. Plus 130 run differential. The Yankees are 36-16 at home, 20 games over 500, 26-17 away. And yesterday it was a mix of a lot of different things that produced the victory. First of all, in Game 1, Herman, did you watch any of these games? There was hardly anyone at Game 1. Tampa comes up, their first 2 batters of the game in Game 1 hit consecutive home runs. Back to back. Meadows leads off the game with a homer. Diaz comes up, it's another homer. Tampa doesn't score. They go 27 outs after that and don't score another run. Hicks went 2 for 4 with a homer in Game 1. Sanchez 2 for 4. Urshela homered, his 9th of the year. He went 3 for 4 in Game 1. Herman went 6, got his league-leading 12th win. Struck out 5, gave up 2 runs, those 2 home runs in the first inning, but no runs allowed after that. He really settled down and pitched a great game. Canely, Britton, and Hale came on the last 3 innings to shut out the Rays. And then there's Game 2. The Yankees win the nightcap 5-1. Another great pitching. And here's the thing. Chad Green for the Yankees. You guys watch. I'm a big Yankees fan. So I'm very familiar with Chad Green's start to the season. Andrea gives her heart to the Padres. There you go. The Padres, let's talk about them a moment. They've just fallen on some hard times, haven't they? I'll get back to the Yankees. But the Padres, I don't know, Tatis, still a great player. He homered yesterday for the Pods. They got to be looking trades. The Marlins beat them yesterday 4-3 in Miami. Since you're talking about the Padres, Andre, I'll just throw a little love that way. Tatis homered. He's hitting .325 on the year. Renfroe singled, but they only had 7 hits. Lamet pitched 4 innings yesterday, gave up 3 runs. His ERA sits at 5.14. The bullpen fairly effective, but Winggetter came in, loser, 9th inning, walk-off hit for the Marlins. And here's how it happened. Cooper got on base in the 9th inning. He doubled. And then he was pinch ran for. Anderson comes up, walk-off hit. Marlins win, Marlins win, Marlins win. Marlins have been playing some really good ball. Tatis is in some regression, but don't you still love this kid watching him play and the energy that he has? And the categories that he can produce for you in fantasy are out of sight. I want to talk about Chad Green, his last 17 games. Prior to his last 17 games, he stunk it up. The Yankees sent him down to AAA. He has served as an opener. He has served in the bullpen. His last 17 games, 23 1/3 innings, 95 batters faced, 0.77 ERA, 35 strikeouts in those 23 1/3 innings, and only 3 base on balls. And if there's been a turnabout in his season, it's been the fact that he is not putting people on base. He's pitching great, and when we get to the playoffs, he's another arm in that Yankee bullpen. And I agree. Malpal says any trades involving the Padres will be eyeing 2020. They got to be conceding this season. I know they're going to be competitive because they got young players. But if they do make trades at the deadline, you're exactly right. And that's why they may add a pitcher preparing and gearing up. Now, let me just say, when you look at the farm system for San Diego, you talk about a field of dreams and a team of riches. Those are the Padres. And you're going to hear names like Mackenzie Gore, a left-hander, coming up through their system, who is an ace in waiting. If they were to add a Noah Syndergaard, who would be a number 2 at some point to a Mackenzie Gore. The Padres staff would be so solid. They've got the bats. They can trade an outfielder or 2. Urias is going to play second base next year. Write it down. And he's going to be a star. Write it down. Looking at the rest of the American League standings, the Twins. I told you Rosario had that go-ahead home run. They beat the A's last night 6-3. Cleveland has won 5 straight. They are now 4 games, and they were 4 games out yesterday. They are 4 games out in the division. They beat the Tigers yesterday 6-3. I want to look at the Indians box score with you for a moment. Luplow went 2 for 3. He had his 10th home run off of Boyd. Jose Ramirez homered yesterday in the 6th inning off of Boyd. It was his 9th. There were 2 outs when he hit his home run and 1 person on. Jose Ramirez's average is now up to 232. And I've told you what to expect. Expect him to be hot now and in August. And expect Jose Ramirez to cool down in September. That's who he is. Let him, if you're a Ramirez owner and you've held on to him, let him play hot for you for about 3 more weeks. Establish this hot streak and then trade him high in fantasy. He will regress in September. Kipnis went 2 for 3. Bowers went 2 for 3. Trevor Bauer, know him, Andrea? 10 strikeouts and 6 2/3. He's now 9-7 on the year. Hand gets his 26th save, striking out 4. All 4 outs he recorded yesterday were strikeouts. Brad Hand. And I can tell you this, if I'm the Cleveland Indians, you know where Trevor Bauer is going to be playing for the rest of the year? Now the trade deadline is coming up. You know where Trevor Bauer is going to be playing? He's going to be playing in Cleveland. Cleveland's hot. They've won 5 in a row. They're not going to tinker with something that's working. What's the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, Cleveland not only is not broke, they're a fine-tuned running machine right now, and I cannot see them trading Trevor Bauer. You just don't do that when he's their ace. Okay, Bieber, yeah, he's great, but he's not Trevor Bauer. The West, the Astros increased their lead over the A's because the A's lost to Minnesota, and meanwhile the Astros were beating up on the Angels 6-2. For Houston last night, Springer went 2 for 5. He's now at 308 on the year. He hit his 22nd homer in the 3rd inning off of Matt Harvey with nobody on and no one out. Bregman, who went 2 for 2 with 3 runs scored and 2 walks. Bregman hit his 25th home run in the 5th inning last night off of Harvey with no one on and no one out. Jordan Alvarez just continues to rake. And, I think he was in a 3 for 19 little funk. Well, last night he went 2 for 4. Consider the funk over. A.J. Hinch did say he's going to give him a day of rest every now and then. 2 for 4 last night, 2 RBIs. He's hitting 330 on the year. Gurriel continues to get a hit. He got 1 last night, but he's at 287. Reddick got a hit, 286. White went 0 for 3. Let's talk about that for a minute. And can someone in the chat room help me understand the enigma known as Kyle Tucker? Okay, I've been studying Tucker all year, researching him, keeping up with him. I know in the past week they've had him taking grounders at first base, working him out there. He plays outfield by trade. He was the International League Player of the Month in May. He's already a 2020 guy at AAA this year. He's supposedly so good, yet we've just not seen him at all this year. Jack Youngblood says Tucker to San Francisco. Here's the problem. I don't